once we've done that,
killed that, actually.
we should be ready to go.
Is fucking staring at me.
They're gone. I can't see the cat. Oh.
Oh my god.
Oh my
the
God.
episode
He's
started
off
there.
stream staring at me. Anyways.
That's all making it in. We're live now.
True.
We're live now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll leave that in. Why not?
Yeah, that's cute.
Welcome everybody to episode 1 of Iteration 5. Last week was kind of like a opening episode, not a real episode 1. So this is the first official episode. We're recording on time. We're ready to go. If this is out by Wednesday, a miracle would have happened. But just in case you don't know who we are, my name's Cage, designer for TSM. Sorry, you go. You know next. I'm sorry.
I'm Foggy. I'm me.
What do you do, Foggy?
I work for 2 companies, and I'm happy.
That's great.
Thank you.
I'm Sai, and I do a bunch of freelance stuff in esports.
I'm Mema. I do freelance work and designer for Esports Engine.
I'm Yuio or Mark. I go to college.
I didn't want to say who I work for because it's a mouthful, dude.
No,
Yeah, you have a
fair.
lot.
But don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just okay, but yeah, welcome back.
How you introduces, you walk up with your merch. Every episode, you just wear your merch. Every episode, they send you.
Just have it. You can get posters in the background and just be like, I work for them
I
and
have
them.
Legend of Zelda on the wall right now, so.
You work for Legend of Zelda.
And my diploma, so.
Yeah.
Nintendo.
I work for Bingus.
Yeah.
Real. You have to get like the jersey that the mom of like the Kelseys got for the Super Bowl, where you have like NYXL on one side and like Beast Coast on the other.
I should.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
That's nice.
Isn't there a
Half
third
my
Kelsey
wall.
brother?
What?
Wait, that would be awesome. Isn't there a third Kelsey brother? I think there's a third one that doesn't play football. Like, or he played for like a season or 2. He wasn't as good.
That's actually
Anyways,
so rough.
let's get to esports, right?
Yep.
One little thing we want to start every week with, we kind of want to just talk about what happened in the past week. Nothing really happened, so we're going to do something else instead. We're going to play a game of 20 questions. Now, if you guys don't know how this works, there's going to be a person, and that person will be me for now. I will come up with an item in my head, and then the rest of everyone has 20 questions to try and figure out what that item is. Only stipulation is that it is esports related. So I'll go ahead. I'll think of an item. I don't actually have an item yet. So Foggy, you have an
I
item,
do
don't
have
you?
one.
Yeah, you do.
guys
You go
can start going
first.
Whenever. I already know it's so. Okay, just
Who
go.
wants to count? Someone's got to counter.
I
You can count.
Hold on.
Yes,
Wait.
Kelly, you're counting.
How do I? Hold on. There's got to be a counter somewhere, right? Like online counter tally number tool. Oh my god.
There's no way you just can't remember the number.
Do you not have like a
Can't.
pen and paper in front of you?
I
don't
don't, so
actually.
I really blame
I
you.
do not have a
Who
pen
does?
and paper.
Who has that now?
Designers.
Oh, really?
Not me.
I'm
I'm
No,
a terrible
I
designer.
just do
You guys
not.
are bugging.
Well, you're like in school, so you have paper around you at
He's
all
not in
times,
school.
right?
I'm not in school.
No, I meant-
No. Yeah.
He's
Mark,
by the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were just in school like
Yeah.
less than. I'm also in school, so it's not helping my case. But I'm a business major, so
I
I
have
don't
pens.
So you don't
There's
learn.
some-
do work.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the
That's how
weird
cute
one.
My pens are. Look. Anyways, we can get started anytime.
Honestly, Vine's on the come up.
Wait, those are cute.
That's a very
I like to
cute pen.
fly.
I know they're from Amazon. I'm pretty sure. Anyways,
Not
no free-
sponsored.
No free sponsor. Okay,
Yeah.
Are you ready, team?
I'm
We're
ready.
gonna
Yeah,
bust
who wants
her
to
in
open
our
it
crowd.
up? I can open it up.
Okay.
You're counting.
Is it an item that you can hold in your hands?
Is it distributed?
No.
Is it a player?
No.
Is it a team?
No.
Is it a league?
No.
We're just gonna keep. I
Is
like
it a
this order.
game?
Keep
You
it
can
going.
ask for. You can ask for one hint. One hint.
No.
We'll ask for hints towards like
Yeah.
at 15.
Okay.
At 15.
Yeah,
we'll
that's
ask for-
fair.
Go
Is
on.
it something you can see?
Kind of.
Well, you can see everything. What?
And
Yeah,
Can't
that is
see gravity. Like,
Well, I don't know. I feel like you could have picked like an esports idea.
Oh, that's
Mm.
true.
Concept.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
Concept.
meta.
Could you write on it?
No.
Like a pen
I
and
mean, well,
paper?
I mean, kind of. Not really.
Team, are we at 6 or 7?
We're at 7. See, this is why you need the tally. I have it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tally.
Is it some sort of item?
No.
You asked if it was a.
Okay.
I feel like we did that.
I feel like that
Yeah,
was
you did.
redundant.
You can ask it for
I
one.
feel like we
you
need
guys
to-
know already.
Can we refund that?
Yeah,
we
We
refunded.
refunded it.
Okay, we got to
Yeah.
refund. Is it something any of us have interacted with?
Maybe.
I fucking hate that answer.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Try
Yeah,
not
most likely.
maybe.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah,
Most likely, okay.
most likely. Yeah.
And it wasn't something you can handle. Like you can't hold
No,
it.
you can't hold it.
That counts as a question.
Does that count as
Is
a
it-
question?
Is it a tool?
No.
Is it program based?
Is it what?
Like, is it a type of Is it a type of program?
It's on a
or like
program.
application? It's on a
On
Is
the
a
program.
program not a tool?
But it's okay.
Yeah.
I need to give you a hint.
Okay.
Okay, give us a hint.
We're at
Where
the
do I end?
Situation.
The Miz.
No.
What? What?
No,
What?
no, not the Miz. I'm thinking of the guy from Jersey Shore, who's not the Miz.
That's not the Miz. He's a WWE wrestler.
Yeah. This is,
Also had an insane half court shot at the NBA Celebrity
I
Game.
saw
but
that.
Don't
Don't
know
count
where
the
that
Miz as
came
a
from.
question.
Not counting the Miz as a question. I have no
Okay.
idea what that was.
Okay, go on. Ask another
Situation. Is it okay? Is it when it's a situation? Is it situated related to a game or situated related to an esports team? Sorry, that's
Game.
two. Is it related to
one.
a game?
Related
Okay.
to a game.
I can't do an either or question. We're bad at this. Game. Is it related to Overwatch?
Oh.
Yes.
Is it a C9?
No.
is it the
Oh,
report?
that was good.
Is it
I
the,
like
Is it,
that.
is
Is it
it
the report?
Ajax?
No. Wait, would you ask Momo?
Is it the report feature?
No.
Or-
Okay, wait.
I
Is
mean,
it?
no.
I feel like that would be a tool.
Ooh.
Is this feature designed by the game
It's not a
creators?
feature. It's a
Well, I thought we
situation.
said-
I said that already.
Oh, okay. Is it designed by the game creators?
Situation.
Not saying feature.
No.
Okay, so it's something that happens.
Is it intended to be in the game?
How many? I feel like
It's
we've
not in
gone
the game.
fast.
Well, it's not in the game.
No.
Oh, we're at 19.
Fuck, it's not a
Shit.
brute.
I'll give
it's
you.
not-
I kind of. I'm so curious if you guys can get this. I'm kind of tempted to go past.
We
it.
can go to. We
Could
can
be a
go for
25
the-
question kind of group.
We can do 25. For this.
Yeah,
the first
it's
one
the
to-
extra five. It's the extra
Yeah.
5 for iteration 5.
Exactly.
Alright.
Iteration
Oh.
5 extra time.
It's not in the game, but it's related to the game, and
Yes.
it's a situation.
Yes.
No,
Tell me when you
use
want another
another
hint.
player. Give us another hint.
It's on a
Have
social
we-
media platform.
On a
The situation happened on a social media
Oh,
platform.
it's something that happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's drama. Is it within the past year?
I don't think so.
Shit. I don't remember that far back.
I don't know much Overwatch.
You'll
drama.
remember this.
I swear. Does it have stuff to do with contenders teams?
Not directly, no.
Does it
Oh,
have
wait,
to do
wait,
with
wait,
the
wait.
Boston Uprising?
Does it have to do with Overwatch 1 or 2? Which
One.
Okay.
Well, if it's over a year ago,
Then, yeah.
Then- That means it's really old.
yeah.
It's funny as hell.
Is it okay? Is it related to like Overwatch League,
Is it flip the switch?
No, I don't know what that is.
the TikTok trend?
No. No, it's
What?
switch cheating.
Oh no, I don't think it's gonna be any of that. Is it related to like Overwatch League or contenders?
Everybody was affected.
It was a global
pandemic.
issue.
Oh. It's a pandemic.
No, goodness, that's to deal with global affairs.
If it was a pandemic, I think there's a lot of questions that would have been wrong.
That's true.
If it affected everyone,
Are you Googling it? What are you doing?
I can hear his keyboard clicking away.
You trying to be sly. What the heck, dude?
what is? Did this news so big that other game
Yeah,
like,
I'm pretty
audiences?
sure. I'm pretty
Bro,
sure.
what I want to guess
This
is
is
going to
funny
be
as
cut out of the
hell.
podcast if I say it.
Actually,
Don't
would the-
do
Yeah.
would-
that.
Is it
Even-
podcast friendly?
Yeah, it's funny
Okay,
as
I'm
hell.
just making sure.
Oh, it's funny. Okay, if it's funny, there's no way it's that.
I don't even want to
Can I
know.
just tell you? Okay, for you guys to know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
can clock
It's
that.
Richard Lewis blocking the entire Overwatch
Oh, yeah.
community.
Well, I was
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah, everyone was affected.
Yeah, we were all
Literally.
affected by it.
Yeah, you.
It's so funny,
was-
and like everybody, like people from other game platforms were commenting on it, being like, "What the hell's happening over there?"
I remember that was funny.
That was so
That's
funny.
that's a good one. That was a
I
really
knew you
that
guys
was
weren't gonna get it.
hard item though. Hard item.
Thanks.
Um,
Your turn.
I was so focused on your item that I did not come up with something. Give me like 2 seconds to look around.
Alright.
It's something in his room.
Let's do no. It's just
basketball.
it's that's not esports related. Wow, this is so hard.
I can do another one if you want. That is not a
Sure.
situation.
Okay, yeah.
To make it
Jersey
easier.
Shore.
Okay,
Yeah,
go
don't
ahead.
Make it this concept.
Okay.
Is it a league?
No.
Oh wait, hold on.
That's
let
an
me
awful
restart.
first question.
Why not? What if she says yes? Then boom, we can get it in.
Okay, then it's okay, but it's not. So it's an awful
I have
first
a worse
question.
question.
Okay,
Go.
go
for
for
it.
it.
Can you eat it?
No. That's a solid no. I don't know why I don't know why I hesitated. You can't eat it.
Well, is it like a matter of overcoming it? Like, is it a mental block of eating it, or is it like
No, you
is
just
it, like,
it's not
physically
physically. You're not
incapable?
physically incapable of eating this.
Okay,
Is it
cool.
is it sentient?
No.
Can't eat it. Not
Not
real.
sentient.
Questions are getting wild.
Okay, is it
I mean, it's not. A
is it a
person or
real
player.
item, like in real life? Or
It's not physical. No.
okay,
So
that was a good question. Thanks,
Is
Tina.
it
does it
something
involve
everyone has that? Go for
Huh?
it.
Does it involve social media?
Not directly.
Is it something everyone has access to?
Yes.
So it's not, it can't be purchased.
Is there a website relating it?
Yes.
Okay. Is it Overwatch related?
Not directly.
We're at 8, by the way. Website, not social. Is when you say it's social media related, do you mean that there is a social media account for this, whatever it is?
No.
There's not. Okay. It's not a brand of any sort, or it's a really poor marketed brand.
There's a lot of
Damn, y'all are
dead
just
space on there. I was
quiet.
saying there's a lot of
Y'all
dead
are
space on this
thinking.
podcast right now.
Do
you want a hint?
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you want a hint?
Yeah.
Yeah, give us a hint.
You use it for work. All of you would have used it most likely for work.
Is it Slack?
No.
I don't know
Okay,
why I was so
hold
on.
general.
Oh, I like this.
Is
Is
it
like
Discord?
really.
No.
Discord has a Twitter account. We gotta remember. She said there's no Twitter account.
You're right.
So use your brain.
I can't. It's hard.
Consider
Just-
brain.
Does Trello have a Twitter account?
Trello.
Probably. That shit
Okay, I
sucks,
actually
by
don't
the
know if
way.
this thing has a Twitter attack. It's not.
It's not one that we
Flashbang.
know of. Like, it wouldn't be a Twitter account any of us follow.
I don't think it has a Twitter account.
Is it an
Okay.
application?
Yes. Kind of.
I-
Pretty sure. Yeah. Pretty sure. Yeah.
Nah.
Can I download it?
Can you? I use a browser version.
Oh,
Good hint.
That was
good
another
hint. That was a good question.
Yeah.
Is it
We go.
Google Spreadsheets?
No.
Is it Google related?
No.
No.
You probably
It
need
doesn't
like
have
a
Google in
account.
its
You probably
name.
need a Google account to sign into it. Yeah.
Does its name start with the letters of the alphabet between A and M?
Yes.
Okay, I
We're
like
halfway
that
there.
question. That was good. That was
Now
really
you got to
good.
remember that every time you guess a program.
Wow. You use the browser version. You said we've probably all used it for work.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many questions
I don't
are
use
we
much
on?
for work, so I don't know
There
about
can't
this.
be anything that's substantial. It can't be like Adobe. It can't be 3D software.
It's got to be using the
Adobe
browser.
definitely has an
I just
account.
said
You
I
didn't
said
say
I've used it for work, and I'm not a creative. Remember that.
real.
That's
True.
I can only think
T
Slack,
is after M.
Trello.
T's after
Oh,
M.
did we use it on Noble?
Briefly, I think.
Is it? Oh, I don't know the name of it.
I want.
We're at 17, by the way. Did we use it to track our work?
Yes.
Is it Monday?
No.
Fuck.
Well,
I
they
don't-
cost something, so I don't think.
I know what it is.
Oh, it's free, so
I
everyone
just,
can use it.
I just don't know what the name of it is. This is gonna kill me now.
It can't be when to meet. That's a W.
No,
I
it's
can give you another hint that you and Momo might understand this hint more than anybody.
okay.
One of our friends that we worked with on Noble loves this program.
Yes, I know it is. I just don't know the
Cal,
name
you're
of
dropping the ball here.
it. Gah. It's the program with the calendar and the things and I don't know what it's called.
It's not Google Calendar.
It's not Google Calendar. We used it as an altogether. I had it pinned on my bookmarks for the longest time, and I took it off recently.
Wow.
I'm,
could
a
make it
fan.
a-
I'm a
Well,
big
that would've
fan of
been
this
helpful.
program.
Wait, can you DM me the name of the program? I can't guess anymore. I just want to see if I was right.
Yeah.
DM me
Wait,
the name.
is it
I won't
Notion?
guess anymore.
Is it Notion?
No, it's
No,
not
it's not
Notion.
Notion. It's not. I'm gonna be so mad at myself. I'm so mad at myself. I knew it. I just couldn't remember the name.
Now we're stuck here.
I don't think any of them would have used it. To be
Really?
fair, I don't think so. I
Can
never
Can I,
heard
do
of
I
it
just
before,
say it?
no.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
I think
what
it's
is
It's
it?
Airtable.
Oh, I've
Never
used
used that in my
Airtable.
life.
I've used it before.
Yeah.
I'm so upset.
Yeah,
What is that?
I knew
I'm
exactly what
Googling
you were
Really?
talking about.
It's
You can like track projects and,
Yeah.
and whatnot.
I had to look up
Airtable.
Airtable.
I love Airtable. It's basically like
Airtable's pretty
Asana,
nice.
except I think it's a little. I personally like it better than Asana.
I actually like Asana more.
Never heard of Asana.
Really?
Yeah, I like
My
Asana
work
more.
is switching to that soon. apparently.
Airtable
I
or
love
Asana?
Asana.
I use Asana for Beast Coast and I use Airtable for NYXL, which I like that they're on separate programs personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Asana's great for Slack. It's got a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff. Like for design requests, boom, someone puts in the Slack, and then it goes straight into the Asana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Organize it. I love it. It's so good. Okay, we want to do. If we can want to do one more, I have an item actually.
Oh, you do?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm enjoying myself.
Well, this is the last one we'll do, and then we'll get into the actual topic
No,
for
I
today.
want to win, Cal. I need to go until I win.
Go ahead. I'll keep track of questions.
Is it a
Is it-
program?
No.
Can you eat it?
Yes.
Green barbecue.
There's no way that question hits.
No.
Is it Lucio's?
Okay. Well, that was.
I'm insane. I win.
He
All
said
right,
when he said,
wrap
"Can
it
we
up."
eat it?" I was like,
Well-
"Oh, Lucio's great item."
There's
Let me
no
do
way
Lucio's.
that popped up. You've been asking that question every single time.
Can
That's
we eat
crazy.
it? Finally paid
It's a
off.
good question.
That was it. All right, cool. That was a quick one. That's perfect. I
There
just
wasn't
wanted
much
to see
there.
if
It
we
was
could
like
get it.
Lucio's, G Fuel,
Yeah.
like Juvie.
Yeah, I just have cream. Oh, I love Juvie. Sorry, no free sponsorship.
Yeah.
So good.
I could eat my employment offer. You don't know that. The piece of paper.
True.
It's
You have
technically
paper?
edible.
I just got an email. I can't eat that.
Well, I got an
Printed it.
email,
I
but
printed
I
it.
could print it.
I print my
True.
job.
But let's get into today's topic: expectations versus reality of esports, because esports is probably one of the most vocal in regards of a community, because we're so tight knit. There's so few of us in regards of how work conditions are, and I think because of that, there's been a lot of expectations and a lot of realities that have been misconstrued. And since we all have worked in esports or currently work in esports, I felt it would be kind of appropriate this week if we just talked about, what we think of when these people, talk about esports expectations. Like, are they right? Are they wrong? What's right about it? What's wrong about it? And for anyone that is wanting to get into esports, I think this would be great for them to know before getting into it.
I think a good place to start too is like, I think all of us aspired at some point to be working where we are to some extent. Like, what was it like? Like, what did you think about what your job would be before you actually got it? Like, for me, like one of my biggest goals when I was a player in Overwatch was like playing or working for an OWL team. And now that I currently work for an OWL team, it is vastly different than I thought. Like, it just feels different, is different. You know what I mean? Like, you expect it to be this like really great, like awesome thing. I mean, like, I like, wait, that sounds like I'm shitting on my job. I
But it's
love my
terrible.
job. It's just so different. I mean, it's like, it's no different
It's a
than a
job.
real, it's a job. Yeah. It's just a job, right? So,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
completely agree, because like waking up every day, like doing what I love and what I'm passionate about, there's days I've just said to like, this is just a job. I don't want to touch this for
Yeah.
today. Or like after work, I don't want to do anything with it. Which like, it's like kind of the reality of it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just
yeah.
you do have a passion, but also it's a job at the end of the day. You're working there for money.
I think some people get the idea that since esports is so passion based, that if you land a job in this sphere, that you're gonna love every single day of your job, and that there's not gonna be a single part of it that like you don't care about or like don't enjoy. But there are hard parts of like every job that you get into, and there's gonna be stuff that you don't want to do, that you just have to like trudge through, or that's really difficult for you to do. And that is anywhere that you go. Like, a dream job is still going to be shitty in some parts. Like, that's just how it is.
Nothing is perfect. That is
Yeah.
the reality of the world.
Yeah.
I got an amazing example for people that like, are mainly the designers here. That have you guys ever worked with print before? And like
Yes.
designing print.
Oh, print. Yes.
Yes.
You know how unfun that is, and how tedious and like annoying it can be.
It is tedious, but I like it because it's
I also
tedious.
like it. Yeah.
The end
I
product is
like
really
all
cool.
the iterations of like back and forth, all the errors, everything that's wrong, sending it to the printer. Like I like fixing those things.
Yeah,
You like that.
I don't
like that.
mind that part so much. I just hate the mass produce because me working at Esports Engine, I'm forced to mass produce like multiple things. So when they're
Okay.
like, "Oh, we want to change for this thing," well, I got to change it on the other 70. I'm like,
Okay,
Yeah.
that I understand.
why?
Like a sponsorships update.
Yeah.
Yeah, those
I
are the,
remember, I
yeah.
remember when working on CDL, like I won't say, but like they removed one of the sponsors, and I was like, we literally had it on like everything, and so I
you
had
have to
to
go
spend
back
a
and-
whole day just ripping it off and just putting it back on, and like recreating some files because some of them weren't created.
Yeah, TSM went through that recently with one of their sponsors. That was fun. That was a fun day. It was a weekend. No, I totally get what you're saying. It's funny because I did freelance for Atlanta Reign for a year, right?
Mhm.
And I got to do all these cool videos. It was awesome. It was like the match day graphics, the roster reveals, the cool videos, and throughout that year, I created just content that I loved. Boom! I get a full-time offer, and I get there, and I am making 2 to 3 pitch decks per week. I don't have time for the 3D stuff anymore. They are pushing that to other. They're getting different contractors, different freelancers. So there's a massive difference between working in esports and kind of just like I guess being on the outskirts as well and doing freelance, right? It's
Yeah.
like
Not to
you guys are
mention,
saying.
not to mention when you're looking at working in esports, like maybe going in, you're like, okay, I'm gonna work in esports. Like I'm gonna have a stable job and I'm gonna work at this company. Most of the time, if you're working in esports, like me personally, I've never had a full-time job in esports, but I've done freelance and like stuff, obviously. So like, at this point, like freelance is the norm, and like a full contracted job is not as normal. In my
It's
opinion.
like pretty hard to land a full contracted job or a fully like full employment level job. But not only land it, but keep it for more than a year. You know, like that's the real struggle.
I would say your
Right.
first mistake is looking for full time in Esports.
Yeah.
Like,
A lot of teams don't even do full time anymore. They do contracted, which it's like contracted. You're working full time hours. You're getting paid full time, but you
That's
don't get
me.
any of the. Oh, well, there
The
you go.
only reason that like I'm full contracted for Beast Coast is because they can't put me as employment because I'm Canadian. Otherwise,
That makes sense.
Beast Coast is great. I love that company. Ton of
But yeah, no, there's a lot of companies, and I'm not going to say any names, but they've had their full time employees as contractors the entire time, so they don't have to give benefits or anything like that.
I've heard about that too.
Yeah.
And it's which actually kind of leads me. Let's go into the first like exact point, right? Because we're kind of generalizing our expectations. Reality, esports pay, I feel like, is by far the number one most debated esports topic in a job. Are we underpaid? Are we overpaid? I think the mass consensus on the outside looking in is that we're severely underpaid, or at least from what I see, right? I could be wrong. I know a lot of people say that esports since it's such a new industry, teams are taking advantage and they're severely underpaying all their employees and whatnot. So I just wanted what's your guys' take on
That's
that?
such an excuse because they're paying their rosters like hundreds of thousands of dollars and then skimping on all of the background to it, which is like your designers, your social media managers, like your community managers. They're like just paying them pennies so that they can pay the big bank to their players, because a lot of the times these companies are run by people who don't truly understand esports and they think that like 100% of what makes it is a good roster, which obviously plays a part, but there's so much more that goes into it.
Mhm.
No.
I think if you're looking at it from a surface level, I think it's really easy to say, here is entry level design job in like a standard field, and here's entry level design job in esports, and be like, look, esports is making comparable money or sometimes more. But what you don't see on the back end is this entry level position in esports is being asked of so much more. Like what they're expecting one person to do is vastly different from like an actual from a different career.
Yeah.
It's like is how I look at it, at least.
It's never just one job.
no.
I fully agree with you. I think it depends. There are some jobs and there are some teams out there that I do think, my role in TSM, for example, right? I think there's pretty set boundaries on what I do. I'm not asked to do outside of what my role is. And I'm getting paid more than the average person in my state. I live in one of the cheapest states in the country as well. I live in Georgia, for anyone that doesn't know.
I'm sorry.
We're right there with like Mississippi and Alabama with some of the cheapest states. And so people in Georgia for these same jobs, I've looked at before, they're getting paid 50, 60 grand, right? Warner, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Yeah. Warner Brothers offered me a job because Warner Brothers CNN work here. They offered me a job and they couldn't match my TSM salary. Which I feel like Warner Brothers, they make a lot more money. So I think it depends personally, because I've also seen other positions that I think people are getting paid pretty well for what they do. But
I think I get paid well for what I do as well. Like, NYXL is my part-time, but Beast Coast pays me really fairly, which I'm lucky for, and like whatever benefits they can't give me as a full employment status because I'm Canadian, they offer in compensation of other things like comping a percentage of like my therapy and stuff like that. Like they've offered to me, so Beast Coast is popping off.
You wouldn't say you're underpaid then?
Nope, I think I'm paid. Well, I think like as time progresses, my salary should increase because I'm doing more and I'm gaining more skills, and that's like a conversation that like my company has been very open with me about. And looking into, obviously. I mean, I mentioned that before we even jumped on the podcast of like what I'm doing internally with them. But I know that a lot of companies won't keep up with inflation and keep up with, those conversations about like, have you been learning new skills? Like, has your responsibility and workload increased? Like, should we be paying you more because of the more work that you're doing? Like, companies will just like turn a blind eye. And I get it. It's capitalism. They want to save money, but like, it's shitty still.
I think might be a bit too much of a hot take, maybe. I personally think like even though we all like are talking like up things like and like think we're being paid fine, like yes, fortunately I'm being paid personally fine, but I'm of the opinion of like just because of being paid fine, like, excuse me, sorry, I'm sick, but just because we're being paid fine or I'm being paid fine doesn't mean like we shouldn't be like one team more, even though like because like I'm even though I'm a designer, I like am asked to do more than just design, which is not a bad thing. I don't mind doing it at all. But I feel like if we're doing more than just like what our job title like says, because we're meant to be like superstars. Like sometimes like designing for a team or designing for an organization, you're seen as a superstar, and you have to like design and then coordinate things, which is not even your job, and mainly the coordination part, or like you for my example, you would go to a LAN and then like say like there's something you have to do that you don't know how to do. Like I'm not being properly compensated for that, and like I have to like learn that on the fly and pick that up. So like I don't think like I think personally like even though we are being paid fairly, I think we should always be paid more. Like no matter what, it should always be going up and like working towards things, because like we're constantly learning, and like unless you're stagnant, then like maybe there's an argument to be made there, but like I feel like all of us, people who are constantly, especially in esports, are constantly learning and trying to pick up new habits because we're trying to catch up to the other industries so much, and it's like makes it much more harder. To, like,
I think as with all industries, but especially in esports because it's like a newer industry, you need to have a lot more like self-awareness of what your value is worth. Otherwise, you will be underpaid. You need to go in with the expectation of like knowing what the design work you're doing is worth. Otherwise, like people will undercut you and people will pay you less just because that's what they can get away with.
Yeah, I think sorry, you can go.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think a big problem also is that I think a lot of us can speak for this. Is it takes so much doing work for free and being paid literal pennies before you even make like minimum wage, like at these jobs, like so much like free work and excessive labor.
Yeah, as a fun reminder, as a designer, make sure if you are doing work that you are signing a contract and you are saying that you are expected to be paid this. Otherwise, you might not be paid, and that's shitty and it sucks, but it happens.
A lot.
You have to look like after yourself a lot of the time.
Make sure you're getting paid too. Like don't get paid in exposure.
It's so scary because like even with contracts, I mean like, gonna bring up Noble here. Like all of us were on contracts and like. The owner still up and left and was like, well, see y'all, like some of y'all ain't getting paid, like, and there's still people to this day that haven't received their money, so it's scary out there, man. It's no joke.
I want to oh sorry, yeah.
Oh, you go ahead.
I said I wanted to speak on like the like learning your value as it is as like a creative and like as like not non-creative as well, because like everything like we do you do for free and stuff like that, like people would pay to do, like even like the minimalist tax. Like I remember specifically with Yuya, we and him worked on a broadcasting together, and we walked out with bank, like we walked out with a lot of money. And Yuya did not expect like us to pull out that much money and like for them to pay us that much, but they're like people that like see that we're confident and see that like we see the value in our skills, like they don't care, they'll sign the check, give you the money, and then that's it.
Yeah, I was still a baby little designer, and I was like, "There's no way."
That was like a month ago.
Yeah, I'm
That was-
still. Yeah, the point is, I'm still a child.
I think it's also that gives me brings up a good point. I think it's also fair to say that for these roles, there's not a lot of roles out there full time, right? For esports, and companies don't really care as much for experience because at the end of the day, it's up to upper management who, at the end of the day, they just want a product out. They don't care about having the highest quality product, and so there'll be people out there that'll be like, hey, I'll work for $42,000, even though you like. Let's say I'm applying for a job. I'm like, I want $75,000 for this role. Boom, easy amount. They're cool with it, but someone else comes along like, I want 42,000. We're equally as skilled. The team's not going to be like, oh, let's pay you 75,000 because we were going to give it to the other guy. But no, they're just going to. People will undercut because it's such a passion-based thing, and people think it's okay to take your dream job and take less money, quote unquote dream job. I hate to break it to you, this isn't your dream job for one. Because every dream job isn't going to be every day is like a fun thing. Even the projects that you've probably personally worked on aren't fun at some points, right? But getting underpaid is not worth it just to make sure you can work on that passion. And I can bring up, it's been a year since I've worked there, so I think I'm legally allowed to talk about it now. I got severely underpaid on Atlanta Rain. And I was okay with it because it was more than I was currently making, right? A lot more. But it was like near minimum wage for a full design job. And I learned within 2 months there that this isn't worth the amount of work I'm having to do. And passion can only get you so far. I quit.
Yeah.
So
I think that comes
I think
back.
a lot of people.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
No, you can I was just wrapping up. So
I was gonna say, I think that comes back to also, again, like you start at zero, like you start off doing work for free. Like the bar is always set by whatever employer you have. So like you could be making like $100 a month, and then someone comes around, they're like, I'm gonna give you $500 a month to do all of our designs like every month. And then you're like, wow, $500 a month? That's so much. Like I was making $100 a month. Like, and that's how they take advantage of you, because the bar is just set every single time on like what your maximum is. And that's why I think it's important to talk about salaries in esports. And like one thing that I really liked was Hitmarker making it so you can't put unpaid work on the website anymore. That was a really good step towards, making change there. But yeah, there's still a long way to go, I think.
the new California law that requires you to put your salary on any job application, it's actually applying to these esports teams because I'm seeing now how much my future coworkers are going to get paid, which is it's nice to see, because now I also can go in and be like, oh, I would like a raise of this much or something, or I would like my pay docked because I'm making more, or I was just it's a hypothetical. I'm not asking for a raise on the podcast.
I'll send it right over.
The bar's at 0,
I'll get him on it.
You could be making I'll give you $5 and your expectations are through the roof, man. Outside of like the money aspect of expectations versus reality for esports, like, do you think there's many negatives, or do you think it's like mostly positives?
I think it's mostly negative.
Really?
Wait,
sorry.
reality or sorry, hold on, wait, time out.
The reality.
The reality. I'm sorry.
Do you think it's better or worse? Well, I mean, about the what expectations do you think people have, and then is your experience as positive or negative outside of just the whole finance thing?
I see now. Yeah, no, sorry. I thought you meant I think expectations are really negative compared to how it actually is.
Yeah.
I think the reality is there's a lot of positives. Sorry.
I think there's so many positives working in esports that are good. Like, I get to travel and have fun while I'm working. Like, I wake up sometimes at 10 a.m. depending on the day. Like, that's sick already. Like, get to play games while I'm working. Sometimes my job involves playing games, which is fun. You know, I get to do cool stuff. My coworkers are always the work culture for me, at least from what I've experienced, is always super fun. Everybody's really down to earth and chill. And you're already in a community of people that have similar interests of you, so it's easy to get along with people. But I think working in esports is the best outside of the money and also sometimes frat boy culture. So
I think
That
something
leads
that's
Oh, are you going to talk about work environment?
yeah,
Or no?
I was gonna say yeah. Like comparative to what I currently like. Yeah, I'm working full time, not in esports. So it's like it's taking that and seeing how that applies to my freelance, and time management is something that is blown out of the park outside of esports. Like everything that I've done in esports has been a rush job. There's been minimal planning. There's not been intentional thought put to the long run of the employee. Like and that's something that I didn't necessarily see going in. Like no, I don't think anyone necessarily talks about the time management aspect. I think they talk about that they're being overworked in an hourly sense, but not that necessarily the planning higher up above them is an issue as well. And that's something that I've noticed.
is this in esports or outside of esports?
In esports, I was saying that in comparison, my
Yeah.
real life job does it much better.
Okay.
So
You would think, you know, when, like, for example, the Overwatch League season ends, you would think, okay, teams are going to start reaching out to designers and other work to figure out, like, what they're doing for next season. Like, I can't speak for myself personally. I can't even speak for anyone here, but I know for a fact that it does not happen at the very end of the season. The season gets close to starting, and then they reach out with a couple weeks to a person to, like, look for, like, a reveal or something along those lines.
I think it's hard as well because off season.
Mm-hmm.
I think
It's like you're not
I
going to
think-
know your roster,
I
obviously.
think
Yeah.
it's also like a lot of esports business models are based around sponsorships and like creator ad selling, and a lot of companies don't know if they're going to have the budget to hire certain like roles until like closing in on the first quarter of like if you don't have auto renewals on sponsors, you're like in the air of like who can I hire and what's that budget look like, and you don't know until like the very last minute a lot of times because like first quarter rolls around, you're landing some sponsors, and then the season starts in like 3 months. Like you're not actually starting to do anything until that 3-month gap, right?
Yeah.
So
That actually brings me to our next point. I want to talk about another expectation that gets thrown around a lot is the workload. Because I think it's very common to see people complaining about the workload on esports, and I think because of that, it gets very generalized that we're overworked 24/7. Like we are constantly working, weekends, holidays, no breaks ever, straight to the point. I think that's a very, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the general expectation looking inside on esports.
yeah,
So, you know, what's your guys' thoughts on that?
I think it's a wave. Like I feel like, at least in my experience, it's like on and off. You're either in crunch and they've given you something really like a lot of work to do, or you're just sitting there and you're like, wow, I'm being paid this week for just sitting here.
yeah. I always say it's like the hard days balance the easy days. Like if you have a week where you're working nonstop, and then like the next 2 weeks you're just like chilling, you're big chilling, playing games during your work hours. You know, like it is like in waves. I do agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think from my position, I think it's very ebb and flow. Like there's like you guys said, chill weeks, chill days, and it's just like the really hard days. But also, the people I work with are incredibly good about like offering like, oh, if you worked overtime, like we could take certain hours off. You can have half days, or like usually I'm not ever forced to work overtime or ever need to unless I ask for it. I never been forced to work a weekend, and this is from my experience. Like I'm very fortunate, and it's like, how would I say it? Really, for me, I feel like I'm taken care of, and I think it only really happens on poorly managed groups trying to put something together, which is just unfortunate. And it's like it doesn't involve like the people managing the thing. Is probably at that point just higher ups at that point.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I'll,
yeah,
oh, do you have more?
I was done.
I'll piggyback off you. I think it's, yeah, I've I work a lot of weekends. I work holidays. But that's only because I allow myself to. TSM been very good with making sure, like, if it comes down to a point of, is it going to be passion or not, right? I think there's a lot of projects that they're like, we can cut corners on this so you don't have to work the weekend, but I'm like, I don't want to. I'm going to work this weekend. And like each of you have said as well, like the good days outweigh the bad days, because I think there was 3 months I didn't do a single thing at TSM or something like that. It was like 2 to 3 months. I was actually going insane. I was messaging them every week. I was like, is there something you could put me on? Like anything coming? It was just off season for every game. And they're like, no, we don't need you for anything. I made like multiple like I made the CSGO fan thing. I don't know if you guys saw that. And I made like, I worked on so much just stuff that I didn't need to, but there's just like, I don't think anyone is forced to work weekends and holidays unless they really want to. For most, and sometimes they have to, but for those people that do, there's a lot of downtime because of the off season, and teams aren't nearly as active during the off season because it's esports. The sports drive the Yeah.
I do think like a ton of companies have issues with work-life balance though. I know like up until the past year-ish, like everything before that was brutal for like respecting work-life balance. Like I've been on teams where I'd get calls at 1 a.m. Being like, you need to do this thing like right now, and I'm like, I'm in bed, like, or I'll be with family or something, like, and they'll just be like, you need to do this, you need to do this. I'm getting constantly contacted. All set days where like I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna be gone this day, as someone who doesn't have weekends off, and then they'll make it an issue for the first point, and then also contact me anyways on those days. Like I think that is like a prominent issue. I don't know. I think Momo's right. It does come down to like how structured and like established the company is and like how well it's run. But, you know, esports is built off of startups. Esports is a startup. You know what I mean? Like there's so many hiring companies who do have like money that are hiring people and don't know how to run an effective like team and just do that like constantly. Like I think all of us for the most part like have or are currently in a position where we have like are in a very established team that has like a good business model and like a proper HR department and like, you know what I mean, like all of that. So we're living comfortably in that regard, but I think the majority of people in esports are suffering with like, you know, a boss that doesn't understand their time zone or like you know, their days off, and there's no clear boundary of like, hey, we're a 9 to 5, and like after those hours, like you don't have to answer us when we contact you, like you have weekends off, like here's a list of our company stat holidays, like these are the days you don't have to come into work. Like I don't think that's very common at all in like a lot of levels of esports.
There's an interesting juxtaposition, maybe not specifically for your position, Foggy, but just like for designers, is balancing the kind of what Calla was talking about of the, do I want to try to fight for this free time, like weekends, holidays, or do I want this piece that ultimately reflects on my skill to look the best that it possibly can? Because it's going on our portfolio. It talks about, like, it shows that this is the work I made and this is what I'm capable of. So, and the people, like people on Twitter, or just people in general, are, it's not their fault, but they're never going to be able to see the working conditions or the time we had to make it. All they see is the final product.
But that's
so
not
at the
a
end of the day.
Oh, sorry.
Well, no, I was saying at the end of the day, even if it's not necessarily a direct reflection of our work, as designers, it's really hard to separate yourself from the circumstances that you were in when making something versus the actual end product.
But yeah, like I get like wanting to push through that 100% and like feeling you have to in a way. But in the end, that doesn't come down to the designer. That comes down to their management. And a lot of teams don't have a project manager that coordinates all of their, you know, creative items and like assets and coordinating with the socials team and doing all of that. And that's a huge issue as well, is not having someone at the top being like, okay, checking up on everybody, making sure people are sticking to a timeline, checking with creatives on like what timelines work for them. Like, hey, can you make this asset on Wednesday so we can send it to sponsorship on Friday and like get our feedback loop done by Monday and then post on Wednesday that next week. Like those are all processes that need to happen to make sure that everybody has like a good work-life balance. And a lot of teams don't have that role. So, which sucks because now you guys are the ones suffering. So.
I think a project manager is a very, very important role on teams, and I
That's
think a lot.
That's what I do.
I think a lot more teams should have a. I know a lot of teams they don't have a dedicated project manager, but I think they should. With the amount of content that esports is pushing out, like if you compare a regular sports team versus an esports team, it's not that much different. And given how much smaller a lot of these esports teams are, like design and socials, I feel it's just hire yourself a project manager, just a dedicated one. Have them work part-time hours. I don't care. Just something.
Have them work full-time and pay them well.
Yeah.
Or that. yeah.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Falling back to our old esports ways and defaulting to part-time half pay.
Yeah.
No, just something, because I know a lot of teams and they combine roles. Like it's your senior graphic designer or your lead designer will also be your project manager, right?
Yeah, which is so not okay.
Yeah, but I don't think they work to the extent of what an actual project manager would do. But I don't know. Yeah, basically, you guys get it.
Yeah.
We're all saying the same thing.
I like project management.
I want to find something within this. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. What were you saying?
Well, I just want to find something in between this expectation versus reality kind of esports thing where we disagree. We're doing way too much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I need some fight.
Let's think.
Hold on, I have a few things up here. There's a point that you guys have actually already talked about that I kind of disagree, that I have on here as number 6. So we'll skip to that. The star player role. The fact that you aren't getting a job unless you can do it all, right? You can't work in esports unless you can do it all. And you guys were saying that, and this could also, I could elaborate and then we could all still be on the same page. So maybe not, but I tend to find that you don't need to be able to do it all to get hired in an esports position.
No.
Now you're going to be asked to do more outside of what you can do, but I think at least from, like for example, when I worked at Atlanta Reign, I reference them a lot, but I have only worked 2 jobs for anyone wondering. That's why I reference those 2 teams, because I don't know anything else. But I didn't know I was going to have to do pitch decks when I got hired. And boom, I had to do pitch decks. I was working in Google PowerPoint, which you don't make pitch decks in, I found out. But I made like 4 or 5 pitch decks and they were fine with it. They're like, I'm expected to do more, but I don't need to know that to get hired, if that makes sense.
I personally like doing more. For me, like, this is my contradictory opinion, which like makes sense for me because like my role is a very multifactored role, but I have ADHD. I get bored so damn easily. It's also why I work 2 jobs, because I like the diversity between the 2 roles. But if I get stagnant, if I'm doing the same thing every day, I will lose my mind. And if I don't feel like I'm growing or learning new skills or developing myself or dipping my toes into different pools, then I will call in sick. I will not show up. I will like when I worked at a normie job, actually I worked at Sun Life Financial doing adjudicating health claim forms for government officials, and I got hired in August, and I learned how to perfect my process so much doing the same thing where I would scroll Reddit half the day and do like 200% above target the rest of the day. But I called in like twice a week or something like that, like more than twice a week every week. And then when I did my winter review, my like annual review around Christmas time, they were like, hey, if we totaled all of the time that you've called into work, it's 2 months of vacation time and you've only been here since August. And I was like, I'm getting fired. And then they were like, did my headset die? Hold up.
Wait, did it die?
Oh, yeah, it did a little bit. Anyways. And then they were like, yeah, but if you're 200% above target and you're 99% accuracy, like if you stop calling in, we'll promote you to like train the new hires. And I quit because I felt guilty. But that was the day I learned I have to do new things every single day or I'll like lose my goddamn mind. So I like it. I like showing up to an event and then being like, hey, you need to do this, please. And I'll be like, okay, just show me how and I'll learn it. And then now I can be like, I know how to do that thing. That's like so cool. Like if I need to like diversify myself in any way I can, like.
I feel like there's 2 sides. Oh, go for it.
Or I was going to just ask a quick question and you can get back to it. But do you feel in order to get your position, you needed to have these skill sets to do everything else?
Well, my role requires that. So yes.
Okay.
But like to get a job in general, I think it definitely obviously helps to say like you can, because what it shows isn't so much like if you put on a resume that you have all this diversified experience and that you can do these different skills and that, you know, whatever, less than it's showing that what it shows is that you can learn new skills fast and you adapt well and you're flexible, and it probably shows that you're easy to work with as well if you're able to pick up these skills and, you know, are willing to help out. And I think that's the quality that they're looking for. I don't know if that means, I mean, I'm sure there's people that take advantage of it as well, like Momo said, but I think it's more a reflection of quality than it is them looking to just abuse that.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
that leads, it leads really well into what I wanted to say anyway, which is I think there's two sides to it. On one side, once you're in a job, and especially when you're like boots on the ground, when you're working in office or if you're traveling to events, I think it's a really good skill. And for me too, I think it would be a fun skill to be able to help out in other areas where people need it. But when you're looking at it from the other side, which is like when you're applying to jobs, you're being hired, needing to be a motion designer, 3D generalist, normal layouts, 2D print, all looking for one person to do all of that, that's a nightmare. Yeah. And especially when teams are using that to say we want one guy to do all of our design, that's also a bad thing in my opinion.
So counterpoint to you though, because kind of the same thing I asked Foggy, do you think these jobs, when they say we're looking for a graphic designer, do you think you have to know 3D to get hired at one of these jobs at a top esports? Let's talk not like the top, but just like a tier 1 esports org. Do you think you like they're looking for a straight up graphic designer? Do you think you need to know 3D for that?
It depends on if they have other people. If their business strategy has no interest in going into 3D and they're okay with having, in this scenario, we're saying like just one designer, like they're looking to just hire a graphic designer or whatever, and they're not hiring anyone else who specializes in anything else, correct? That's like where we are?
Yeah, just a graphic designer. Yeah.
Then you probably wouldn't have to know 3D. Could you find that position in the real world? Like in a not a hypothetical scenario, I think you'd be hard pressed.
You just need a team with money. Like that's what it comes down to. Like the only reason that teams really take advantage of people who can do more than one thing, like you need to know all these different things to be a designer. Like graphic designer doesn't actually mean just a graphic designer. It means all these other things, is when they don't have the budget to hire these separate roles. So they're skimping on like their product by hiring someone who will do a half-assed job to do everything at the same time, rather than like getting one really, really, really good graphic designer, and then having really dope graphics, and then also hiring a really, really good 3D motions designer who can make these really, really dope, you know what I mean? Like look at Sentinels. I mean, like I'm gonna say Styles because Styles is the GOAT, but like I'm pretty sure Styles just does motion design with them. And for a good reason. He's very, very good, and they have the best motion design in my opinion, just because Styles is the absolute GOAT. But it's because they have the budget to afford him, you know? Like I don't know his pay. I'm not gonna act like I do, but I guarantee they pay him. I guarantee they pay him the big fucking bucks, you know?
Yeah.
So
well,
I hope so.
I hope so.
That's my point. It's like I feel there's this expectation, even when you're talking, there's like this expectation that you have to know more. But we're naming these people like Sentinels, for example, right? Sentinels has 2 3D designers, but you guys didn't know that. There's a second 3D designer on the team as well.
Now
right?
It does
They have multiple graphic designers, and you know TSM. We have a whole team. Liquid, they have like a team of 20 designers. The Guard,
even Beast Coast has like, you know, separate
multiple
roles,
designers.
And
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say NYXL as well. They'll hire specialists to do they'll hire them per project. They won't hire them like full time because it's few and far between when we need certain things. But they'll hire specialists to do, like right now I'm working with a designer to do motion tracking on like jerseys for like a video. You know, like, and we just have this one guy that we go to and we say, hey, we need this done. Like, can you do it? And they'll do it for us. And that's all he does for us, right?
They'll fill in the gaps, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with that being said, with all these top teams, and we're saying this out loud, I'm getting the reality is that you don't need to know these multiple things, right?
I think once you get to the top, yes.
That's
where
I'm
there's
talking
money.
Tier 1.
Yeah, tier
that's what
1
we're saying,
where there's money, yes. But like everywhere else in esports, if you're not capable and you have that one extra skill that's above someone else, you're not like, most of the time you're not going to get that edge and get that job.
Which
but
comes back to
it's like what is the progression for an early creative in esports? Like, do you sacrifice your passion of whatever niche of graphic design it is to be a generalist and have all this stuff, or do you just stick with your one thing and hope? You know, like what's the answer there?
This
I
comes
mean-
back to people working overtime and having terrible work-life balance and working for free at the start. Like everybody does it. I feel like every single person starts like doing that, and that's where you end up like accumulating half these skills and doing more than you're supposed to. It's like at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
And
what
it
were you
comes
gonna
back to like, is that healthy? Is that what the culture we want to foster? But at the same time, if you look at it, I'd say maybe not all, but a lot of designers in esports don't have a degree. Do we think that's true? Not true?
say? Yeah,
That's-
a lot of them
Probably,
get their
yeah.
degree while they're working. If they
Some,
even
yeah.
do.
That's all.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
definitely a
degree.
thing. That's high. but
Yeah.
Losers.
So like one thing that you'll do in college, and that I do in college currently, is I'm developing my portfolio essentially for free, even technically in the negative because I'm paying to be here. So I'm paying them to do graphic design work currently, like for my portfolio essentially. So do we think that doing free work or grinding certain projects and stuff like that is the equivalency to going to college for esports design? Because I feel like that's kind of an interesting balance.
Ooh.
Well, before we get into that topic, I feel like that's a whole nother topic we can get into. I actually really love that point. We've had this debate, you and I, just personally, so I would love to get into that. But reeling it back a little bit to the multiple roles thing, when we talked about when you get to the tier 1 teams, right, that have the money, then yeah, you don't have to know everything. But is there anyone outside of the tier 1 teams that are hiring full time? We're talking esports jobs, right? So I feel
Not to a real salary.
yeah, exactly. So I feel like those kind of are negated, and the reality is that you don't have to be a star player for these actual jobs. But that could be a wrapping up point. We can get into what you were saying.
I do want to comment on that,
Okay.
that thing you said. I don't necessarily think it's impossible to get a job with being a specialist at all. I think it definitely is doable. I know like tons of people who are just specialists who only do one thing or do two things very well. But I feel like you also have to be willing to like learn other things, but not be like great at them, but like being able to like segue it off in case you actually need to do it. Like I don't think
I think it is a requirement to have like dip skills. Like graphic design is so much more than just a 2D layout these days. Like it's photography, it's a little bit of 3D, even if it's like a basic understanding. It's like there's a lot of niches that feed into this, and I'm not sure if it's like a misunderstanding of what that role is now, the way like it's being defined. Like I'm not sure if people know what that role is anymore. Because it's like, what is a graphic designer in the first place? Like I feel like that term is pretty loose and nebulous anyway.
I think that this happens in every role though. I mean, even if you look at social media managers, like half the time they're doing community management on top of it as well. Like, you know, I think anywhere you go in the workplace, for the most part, there's obviously some jobs that are very like, this is your role, this is defined, like you don't really do outside of this. But most roles that require, how do I explain this? Like interaction with other people require you to be flexible. Like, I don't know, like unless you're like a fucking cybersecurity person and you're just like coding all day, like 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to help someone out or do something and like be a
that's what
team
I'm saying.
player. Yeah. So
But that doesn't qualify you for an all-star player, does it? You don't have to go into the job knowing you have to know 3D, you have to know motion, you have to know
I think we've
I
come to the
don't-
consensus
well,
that it's just what
That
think
the
you-
all-star player doesn't exist.
You don't need to know all of them to the same level, is my
Yeah.
point. I think you need to
Okay.
have a fundamental understanding of how all those things function to be a designer, but you don't need to be the best at everything.
And I think this transitions into the topic that we wanted to talk about next, Callow, pretty well.
Okay.
Because, sure, I think we come to a consensus you don't need to be like the star player. But I also think you can grind one aspect, like 3D, super hard. And if you get good enough at that one thing, like people will notice you. People will pick you up. But you're also, if you're grinding it to that level, you're probably doing like these portfolio unpaid pieces.
Yeah.
And so that brings us into the discussion of, are the portfolio pieces that I'll work on in college, because that's how college design works. You learn stuff, you build a portfolio so that when you are out of college you can get hired. Is that like unpaid work or free or like unsavory pay work in esports? Is that similar? Are those similar things?
I don't think so, because I think esports experience goes way longer or way more than a degree would. Like,
You don't get to put
let's
that
take,
on your resume. Yeah, degree goes on your resume. That looks good off the bat.
but
You know what I mean?
hold on. But in
Sorry.
esports though, like in the real, hold on, don't get me wrong, design job in the real world, I think for you, when you finish your degree, it's gonna be way easier for you to get a job in the real world, like outside of esports, than it is for me. Even though if I have way more experience than you, right? But I think for esports, I don't think they care about degrees even in the slightest. Like I see people talking all the
It's
time.
purely portfolio.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
But the argument isn't that I'm getting a degree at the end. The argument is that I'm building my portfolio regardless, while also getting a degree that can help me pivot
think-
somewhere else.
As a non-creative, I say it looks better because you have a degree at the end of it as well as a portfolio. You know what I mean? Like, you have a physical representation of the commitment and hard work that you've put and the free labor, that technically free in debt labor that you've done to work on your portfolio. Whereas, like, if you're creative and you're, just doing esports grind from the get-go, like, you just have these like orgs that have like 1,000 followers on Twitter that you've done graphics for, you know what I mean? Like, there's less weight in that on a resume, I think. But I'm purely speaking as someone who's not a creative and like doesn't really.
Cusano's on my LinkedIn.
Yeah, so
let's put in another position, social media manager, right? I know the degree isn't exactly this, but let's pretend you can build a social media portfolio in college with fake tweets, right? I don't know how it
Or
would
like
work, but
communications internships is probably a better.
sure, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I've taken one
He's a
social media
marketing
class.
It's just a
major.
wall. of
There's not a lot going on up
shit.
there.
But so you get an internship at Bob's Burgers. That's a real TV show. Sorry, I just meant to name a burger place and just anyways, you get
Rob's Burgers.
Rob's Burgers, right? You get an internship there while you're in college with this degree. Boom, you apply, you're done with your degree, you apply to an esports position. You're facing someone who's had 2 years in esports experience. Now, you have the same amount of experience, but one's esports, no degree, one is degree but not esports. I think 99 times out of 100, the person with esports experience gets hired.
What if your portfolio just looks better? What if you're just better at what
I don't
you do?
think it translates to esports though. I think it's totally different.
I think if you're good at what your job, if you're good at hiring people, actual design knowledge will get you just as far, in my opinion.
we're talking social media.
Okay, well I forgot.
No, I'm
we're
just
in
kidding.
social media.
How dare you.
I think when you're running the Rob's Burger account, if that shit's going crazy, like million likes, like they'll pick it.
Yeah, okay, but we're
mean,
not
like, you
creating
can-
miracles.
I mean, it's been
On
a
Rob's Burgers.
year out of Atlanta Reign, so you can talk about it. Like the person, or whoever they did hire for that wasn't out of esports, right?
But the reasons for hiring were different, so we're not going to get into that.
Okay.
That's a totally different thing. But I see where you're coming from. That I don't think. I guess it depends on who does the hiring. Is it your upper management? Is it? I know for me, right? Dunk. If you guys know who TSM Dunk is, he's our socials lead. He's very in depth with our graphic. He knows what's going on. He's the one that contracts all the other 3D designers as well, so he understands what's going on. He knows what my work is. He can look at it and he can differentiate it from someone else's and be able to tell why mine's worse or why mine's better. And because of that, I think if he viewed my work in an esports setting versus someone who's not in an esports setting, I think he's going to pick me just because he's more hands-on. He's like, this is more esports, right? He doesn't care about the degree. But on paper, I'm 10 times worse. So to an upper management person, I think they're going to hire the person with the degree. So I think you're right and wrong. I think it just depends on who's hiring.
Even if we're like splitting it 50-50 and half right and half wrong, I feel I'm just gonna say that I'm right because yours can't pivot and mine can. Smiley face.
What do you mean?
Because when it goes up to the esports job, sure, like if it's upper management, like maybe my scenario gets it, and if it's Dunk or like the equivalency, maybe your scenario gets it. But even in either of those equivalencies, if both of them had to apply to a job at a design firm in Burlington, like here, the esports guy is not getting it.
That was my point. I was saying in esports only. I think the esports experience, and we're talking esports job, like I said from the start.
That's why I'm saying if it's 50-50, if you pivot to anything that's not esports, that's why I would do the path I'm doing, which is.
I also feel like most esports hires happen through suggestion and recommendation rather than like actual application and hiring process. I feel like I can speak personally. I have never applied for any of the jobs that I've gotten. I mean, I applied for Beast Coast, but it was because a friend had been like, hey, it was right after like I lost my job at Noble. Was like, hey, we have this spot open. It was for community management. Like, you should apply. And then he went to them and he was like, hey, I have someone applying. Please go look at their resume. And then they looked at my resume, spoke with me on the phone. They were like, hey, you're way too qualified for this position. We're going to draft you an influencer management position. And then I got hired that way. And even NYXL, like, I'm pretty sure Styles recommended me and Alice. And that's how we got our jobs there. That's how we got our, like, interviews with them. So I feel like that's, I don't know, maybe I'm just like a unicorn.
No,
but
I think
I feel,
every job I've gotten in esports and design has been through recommendation or a friend. Like,
I would
is
say-
this conversation
"Hey,
even? Is this
I feel
conversation
I have something to say. Yeah, I have something to say.
even- Go on.
I feel like that only applies to teams and like organizations that are just team focused rather than like
that's true.
generalized things. Because even though I did get a recommendation for EE, I did have a reference. I still had to go through 5 interviews. I still had to prepare for that. Like, that's still a real thing that you have to mentally prepare for. And that I think that really slowly happens with team stuff, and it's very 50-50. I feel like mine's is more 30% the experience. Like, nobody really experiences what I went through with the 5 interviews. People rather experience like what you, Foggy, or what you went through, or like recommendation, like, oh, like I know that person. I think they're good, and then bam, they're there.
Yeah, I agree. I think if it's an esports team, like an esports like 100 Thieves or Beast Coast or TSM or an Overwatch League team, like I think those teams are you're more likely to get it via recommendation rather than like if you're gonna apply for Nintendo or Blizzard or like these actual game companies, they're gonna be the very formal HR process. Like you have to go through 8 interviews with us before we even look at you. Like,
before you even consider the idea.
Yeah, I mean, I interviewed with Blizzard and that was a hellscape. Like literally 8 interviews with like 5 different departments. It was so scary. So
That's funny.
I shit myself that whole time. I was like, this is way, and that's also one thing esports didn't prepare me for, was how formal like the interview process can be when you interview with someone who isn't like easy work culture esports. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's scary, man. I don't know half the terms they were saying. Sorry.
Literally.
I am the exact opposite. Actually, there was also one team that was funny. I'm not going to say the name of the team, but I went through 13 interviews and got denied.
13.
13. It was awesome. I loved it. Got denied. I made it to the final 2 apparently, but whatever. Anyways, that's not important. But I'm in the exact opposite. At both positions that I have filled full time, and I guess Noble that was very much a recommended thing, I think.
Yeah.
Or kind of. Yeah, I probably recommend it. Like, I kind of knew all you all.
Yeah, we were all homies.
we're all friends. But
your work slaps.
The other 2 positions I've had, I have not had any recommendations or any, insider knowledge. The Atlanta Rain one was kind of weird because I worked freelance for a year and then I just got promoted to full time. But I didn't know anyone in Atlanta to get the first freelance stuff, right? Mm-hmm. They just saw, I don't even remember what they saw the Susano work and saw that I lived in Atlanta. That was it. TSM, I didn't even know Dunk existed when I applied. I am so sorry, Dunk, if you're watching this, but he made a tweet. He's like, we're looking for a 3D designer. And I messaged him and boom, I had no idea who he was. So I've been
following Dunk for so long. It's so nice.
So I've literally only known Dunk for like less than a year at this point. That's crazy. But yeah, I applied to him, or I applied through there, and I had no recommendations to TSM, no connections whatsoever, and I got both my jobs. So I'm in the exact opposite scenario where I've had to go through these hellish interviews. Not that the interviews, just saying hellish interviews is like, I would much rather not go through an interview. Does that make sense? Not that my interviews are bad. You
I
guys
think
are
there's
great.
still like an aspect of, yes, someone didn't directly like give you those jobs, and I'm not like taking back from your experience. I just think that there is a necessity in esports of like making sure that you are known in a community, making sure that you are large on Twitter, like making sure that you know other people. Because sure, Dunk didn't know you at first, but like I think the most powerful tool for getting a job is when they click on your profile and they see who follows you. I feel like so many people have gotten jobs just by someone scrolling through the who follows this guy, like just to see like, is this person reputable in esports? And then obviously they go from that, they move on to your portfolio, stuff like that.
But that's not nepotism, is it?
No, it's not. It's just networking.
It is networking.
So I don't think nepotism's huge in esports.
I think
it's
it can.
mass.
I think it can be, but I don't see it as much after being in it. I don't see it as like as big of an issue as a lot of people say it is, at least from my own personal experience. But definitely still, I mean, nepotism is an issue anywhere you go. It's not like a unique thing to esports. So I think it's just a normal amount of nepotism.
For the most part, you won't get the job unless you're good at what, unless you're qualified.
Yeah.
Like there aren't many situations like I think off the top of my head where it's like, how did this person get this job, kind of thing.
Yeah, I can't think of any. That's
I know
a
of
good,
one, but I can't talk about it.
Yeah, I was saying no one can give an example of that. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's just the meanest thing you
It
can
is
say.
so mean.
I would love to give an example. I actually I found out they got fired not too long ago. They don't work in
Yes,
esports
go.
anymore.
Oh no, there's this what was it? It was a 3D designer on IterationFIVE, I think.
I still
All
work
right,
there.
all right. We're not getting too. It's getting hotter. I see it.
Isn't it was like Schmallow or
Yeah, I heard about that guy. He was terrible. How do you get that
still
job?
works there.
Actually, I
somehow.
did get
Alright.
DMs from people that did ask me how I got that job.
Really?
Like mean ones.
What the
That's
heck?
funny. I forgot.
That's
I
crazy.
got
Wow.
and there's
That's fucked
there's
up.
this one Valorant Discord.
Bring them up.
Yeah.
Them.
We
No,
should
it's
post
literally
their-
called Valorant Discord or something like that. Oh, you mean bring them up
Creative.
on the screen? I thought you meant like bring
The
up the name.
Valorant
But
design and editing Discord, or is that
yeah, a lot of
Who
mean
does that? That's so weird.
assholes?
mean people in there.
I want
A
to need
lot
our
of-
You
editor
didn't
to
know
put
that?
like their IPs right
No,
there
no
where
idea
I'm
who they
pointing
are.
But
to,
that's so
and their
bold.
names.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, but it's also that was during the time where I think it was happening a lot on Twitter, and there was like a wave for like a week of people like, hey, shitting on other people's work isn't going to get you a job.
I do remember
Stop
that.
doing
I
it.
do remember
Yeah,
that.
it was during that time, and people were shitting on me for getting my job, shitting on other people, and it was just like, oh, how did they get their job? I could do way better, and I'll work for less money. Well, no one really wants to work with you.
Do you know what I
because
think
of
is?
your-
I'm sorry. Also,
Okay, that was it.
the dumbest thing ever is venting about other people in esports, or venting like that you would potentially or have worked with, or venting about your work on social media is so silly to me. That is a quick fire way to get fired.
Yeah.
God.
That is for the circle tweets.
That is
Make
for
a
the
private
circle.
account.
That is talk to your friends. I don't even think it should be on a private account. I think
Talk
it's
to your
talk to your
friends.
talk to your friends. You know.
Write it down
no.
in notes and
Talk
burn
to
it.
your
Yeah.
friends. Talk to a therapist. Like anything
Yeah.
but that.
Talk to your employer and find a
Talk to
solution.
your HR. Yeah. Talk to.
Yeah.
And Momo said it best. Esports designers, talk to a therapist.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny you say talk to your employer because actually I had a little issue on TSM, and I don't think they'll care. I'll talk about this where we were in like transitioning phases, I guess, with the recent layoffs, and they didn't understand. Like no one really knew what we were doing or how much we were working, and so I just brought it up to them one day, and they were like, "Oh my god, we had no idea. Let's fix that." So I think a lot of times, just talking to upper management
Yeah.
is actually they don't know. They're not evil people. They're not out there trying to make you like cry blood and sweat and tears. Like they don't know. They're just like, oh,
It was, yeah.
they
Yeah,
want to
it's
they
just-
want to help you.
It's probably just like a poor structure that leads to that too, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta redo that structure now because it's clearly not working."
There's definitely a lot of problems in esports. That's simply because obviously, even though it might not feel new anymore, it's still compared to other industries like a child,
Yeah.
where there's just not the proper structure and things like that happen. So it's not always like, wow, this company treats their employees awfully. It's like, wow, this company did not do a good enough job building a structure for their employees to actively like vent their needs.
Yeah.
There's also what do you call it? It's ever changing. Like I can guarantee you, every team that's in Valorant right now, when Valorant came onto the scene, their structure had to change because these games are there. It's not like you can just add a new game, keep the same structure. When these powerhouse games come out, you got to change everything up.
Yeah,
Like
Overwatch 2.
League, like hell, like okay, well that's
the biggest
That's a
game
little
of the
bit
Biggest
year.
shakeup in esports ever.
Yeah,
shakeup.
it's here.
Surely.
But no, even with Overwatch, I mean, hell, you had to create a whole separate entity, right?
You had to create a whole
And that might be
brand.
rare. Go ahead.
You have to create a whole brand and everything. You have to,
Yeah.
like put an effort into something else and build it up more.
Yeah. So the structure is always changing, like dropping games, leaving games, entering games. Like it's hard. Like we say, oh, we all have bad structures, but we got to cut a little slack because I don't think we're not like TSM in 10 years. Are we still going to be in Valorant? I don't know. Who knows at this point, right? You can't. It's not like an NFL team where they're not going to go adventure off into basketball and possibly leave football. No, they're stuck there, right? So it's hard to set up a structure for an ever-changing team, right?
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
You think it's hard to set a structure for an ever-changing team, like in terms of rosters?
I think, well, from a creative standpoint, right? So let's take Valorant, for example.
I think that is an issue when, okay, so if you look at, I like using 100 Thieves for this example. When you look at 100 Thieves, they've built a very good brand for themselves outside. I could not name, except for Derek because he's the homie, I could not name a single one of their players. And mind you, I don't really follow esports much, but I know
Derek
the brand.
will bang as soon.
I know the brand because I know that they have really cool merch, that they do really cool events, that their venue, or like their office space is cool, and they make really great content around like all of that. Like I know them as the content creation org. And they have a really good structure and business model because of that. Like they're doing so many different things outside of just having rosters. I think that was an issue that we experienced on Noble was we were changing rosters and we didn't know how to like keep up with, the brand because of it, because our brand was these players. Like we were making our face a player's face, you know what I mean? Like this person's like, even like, I don't know, like you can look at Shock with Super, where it was like Super was the face of Shock, and when Super left Shock, it was kind of like like are we sticking around for Shock or were we sticking around for Super? Like a lot of people felt that way. But then you look at an org like 100 Thieves, where you're like, a lot of people follow 100 Thieves just because it's a really cool org and they do really cool things outside of their rosters. So I think, yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
But I don't think we could sit.
Sorry.
Well, I don't think we can sit there and say 100 Thieves has a great, what do you call it, model. As we see these third round of layoffs from 100 Thieves.
Oh
right?
yeah, that's true. I forgot about those.
Like you can't sit there. It's because I think it's just people are needed
Coast,
for
though.
niche games.
Sorry, I keep shilling my company.
But people are needed for niche games. Like if we like TSM, let's say we entered Valorant today, we weren't in there before. We might need some more Valorant people, right? We need an editor that specializes in Valorant. Then boom, if we leave Valorant, the structure's all changed, right? These people are no longer needed. They're expendable.
When you say the structure's all changed, do you mean like your structure as like you as an employee, or do you mean like we no longer have this department for Valorant? Because I think like if you're worried about your own job and it's reliant on an esport roster, then I get it. But if you're like a general designer for an org, I don't think that's really an issue for you, is it?
It depends, because it becomes capacity at this point, right? Like for me,
but if you're losing a roster, it's less capacity on you anyways because you weren't working on it, right?
But I'm not needed then because there's less work to be done.
But I'm saying like
point.
You're just a general designer, aren't you? Like I mean, you do everything, right? So your job is actually lightened if you lose a roster. Like you're still going to be there because they still need you to do X, Y, and Z for other aspects of the company. I understand that though, if you were to bring on a designer to do Valorant and then that person is stressed about their job because they're like, well, if this team leaves, am I making sense? I actually don't know anymore. Okay. I was looking at all your faces. I'm like, am I speaking?
Okay, wake up.
I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm
Wake up.
tired. I went rock climbing today. I'm EP. But
no, I think you make plenty of sense, but it's also becomes I'm not the only designer on TSM. We have, I'll use the recent TSM layoffs, right? We had 4 designers, right? One of them got laid off, and that's as deep as I'll go into it, by the way. I'm not going to talk anything more to that. But it's because we were exiting a few more games, right? We exited R6 recently, I think, right?
We did too.
Yeah, and see,
well, we dropped
so
our
if
roster, but yeah, like it's not looking too hot.
If you're exiting more and more games, then less and less people are needed, right? We didn't need 4 people on the design team according to upper management. So, boom, one's gone. And I think there's a lot of, it's not specific game. Like, I wasn't hired to do Valorant. If we lose Valorant, boom, we're done. But sometimes Valorant was 50% of the design capacity, right?
Yeah,
That's all
maybe you have to like thin out the design team to like.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So it's just hard to set a structure with games changing. If Valorant was a forever thing, then boom, it's easy to set up a structure around that, but it's not.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it's strange for me because I don't like even at NYXL where you think that like I mean we have subliners and we have Excelsior, so those are our 2 rosters. Obviously, if we were to drop one of those for whatever reason, that'd be like a huge thing because we only have 2 rosters. But my personal workload as a project manager, I don't think I'd be too affected because first of all, I'm part-time at that job anyways. But second of all, no matter what, I am coordinating something. Like, that doesn't change. If anything, we have more budget to do other things like events or like, and then I'm coordinating that. You know what I mean? Like, my workload technically doesn't decrease, but I see how it's different for like a creative where it's like your job might rely on that kind of like workflow and like stream, you know?
Yeah, it's gotta make sense, I guess, for us. And I think for a lot of creatives and social media managers, like, it doesn't make sense to have 10 social media managers when you have 5 games, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe, I guess it depends on how much you're covering. But if you go from 10 games to 5 games, you know, you gotta
Throwback,
make
10
changes.
social media managers, 1 team.
Yeah, 10 just Overwatch team managers, or 18 or whatever it was. Anyways, that's a throwback if anyone remembers that.
I remember that.
But yeah, so I think it comes back to the structure thing, but it's, can you build the structure in esports? Is it possible for literal esports, not the outside brand, which I think is very easy to build. Like 100 Thieves, they could totally do it. They might have, I don't know what goes on internally over there, but they could totally have built a structure on the brand side that's very
Their
good.
office is sick though.
Yeah.
Their office is so cool.
I want to go to LA, see all the cool esport
I
offices.
was there like a month ago. It was so
The
cool.
Was that
esports
a
offices
month?
tour.
Huh? Yeah, it was it a month? It was like, yeah, it was like,
That was a month
yeah,
ago.
end of January. It was a
That was
month.
a month ago.
It was a month ago. It was cool though. They were so nice.
Time's
Did I
flying.
tell you about when I saw Derek?
No.
Oh, we were getting a tour from Adrian, who's like the Juvie socials manager, and he was walking us around the office, and he like opens the door. He's like, "This is our Valorant team," and I go like, "Hey, Derek, Bogey," and then he was like, "Bogey," and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm working. What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm working." I was like, "Okay," and then I walked away, and then that was it. Like,
That's a very esports
yeah,
conversation.
I was like, "That's it." Like, it was funny. It was cool.
It's 2 people working.
And I worked in
Working
another
away.
office the other day, and I played basketball, and I had a lot of energy drinks.
But do they have a basketball court
Yeah,
there?
Yeah, they
and
do.
they have a
Oh
whole.
my
There's this whole thing where
God.
you can just hike in like the back if you wanted to, and apparently like the teams go hiking there pretty often, which is nice that they have that option. They can like get
Do
out
you-
and touch
Sounds great.
grass. Yeah.
Do you know if TSM has a basketball court there? Did you see
I don't
it
know.
on
I
the-
didn't go. The owner of Beast Coast Grant, he went. But he said, actually, I won't. Actually,
I'll have to ask. If TSM has a basketball court, I'm just going to ask for them to relocate us to LA.
Hell
And then
yeah.
I'll play basketball with my TSM friends.
Ooh.
There's no basketball courts where I live.
Are you saying
I
you're
was,
gonna hit
supposed to
them
see, I
up?
was supposed to see the NRG Castle, but it just didn't work out because they were doing stuff. And then by the time that I could go, I was doing my event, so I just didn't show up.
Good.
Yeah. Sad. Next time.
Esports scheduling.
Yeah. Corey was
It's
trying
all over.
to hook me up.
Speaking of scheduling, I feel like we've hit our time slot.
I was gonna say that too. It's
I-
like an hour and a half almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did
yeah.
pretty good.
Did we stick on topic? I actually don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I feel like
Yeah,
we
we jumped a bit, but it was like it was organic.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
covered basically everything. We didn't really cover work environment, but I don't think there was be much debate there.
It's chill
was
as
like-
fuck. Yeah.
No, oh, okay, maybe
Oh,
not.
and
Maybe there
now we
was going to be a
debate.
little
I
debate.
love my workplace. I don't know. I personally
Well,
love
yeah, I think
all my
we-
workplaces.
We covered workload, which I think plays into environment a little bit.
Yeah, I guess.
I think you'll find a lot of good. I mean, obviously, there's 2 aspects of it. You'll find a lot of like good, like people, like coworkers. There's the word.
Hmm.
Like, and then there's also like you've seen stories of like bad work environments within
Well,
esports,
I
and
was-
whether or not like
yeah.
that's the norm or not.
That's true.
I think also there's a lot of expectation, and this kind of goes into workload of people just think that we at esports are way overpaid and we don't do anything. It's just esports. Like we just chill out all day, play ping pong, play video games. Like we're not. These aren't real jobs. Like what?
Shimmy sports.
Sometimes
So-
I feel overpaid again on those light days where I'm like I could be doing like more, but it's because there's nothing to do. But then the hard days come again. It's like you said,
Oh
it's,
yeah.
it's a flow, right?
Yeah.
Ebb and
You have
flow.
people on.
Ebb and flow.
You got people on both sides. People who say we either work too much or we don't work at all.
I get massive
Just me
imposter
in the
syndrome
middle.
when it's easy days. I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. Should I be here? Like every single
I
time.
get that on the weekends now. Like I worked like I think 3 weekends straight because it was just a really busy time, and I like I said
Yeah.
I wanted to work the weekends, and so this weekend it is a holiday. Today's a holiday. I didn't work at all today, and I felt really weird.
Yeah.
I felt bad.
I know
I
ISL
worked
was
today.
open today. They were like, we're the
Yeah,
only
I had
office
class.
in the trade center right now. And I was like, go home. It's a holiday, man. The East Coast office is closed. Like, go home. I did my meeting and then I went to rock
Dipped.
climbing, which I've
You don't have the
mentioned.
holiday. You're Canadian.
It's
You gotta
family
work.
day today.
It's
Family
what?
day?
Yeah.
Me
What-
when
Yeah,
family
man.
I
day.
called my mom and my sisters. And I
Is
said,
that what the
"Happy
holidays
family day."
for?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's to spend time with family. It
That's
actually
like the
is.
most Canadian holiday I've ever heard.
I love in
It's such a
March
good
when we
holiday.
have like maple syrup day and we all go to the shack.
Do you know what's really good actually is if you go, I don't know what the name of this dessert is, but I've been to Winterlude in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada. And I'd go to like the Rideau Canal, but they always do like this Winterlude festival, and there you can get that traditional Canadian snack, which is they do ice sculptures, and then they put fresh powdered snow, and then you take syrup and you drizzle it, and then you take a stick and you roll it through the snow, and it like mildly freezes it, and it's really good. It is.
Yeah, it's called sugar on snow. It's a thing in Vermont. Vermont maple syrup. is
It's a
better than
different name in
Canadian
Canada.
maple-
It's a French name in Canada.
Well, yeah, I'm just.
Of course it is.
I was only
It's
transitioning to
actually
that to say
French.
Vermont maple syrup is better.
Okay.
I'm saying Vermont maple syrup clears anything Canada
Oh,
makes.
my boyfriend's family
We're
is from
biased.
Minnesota. I think they're not. I don't know if they're from Minnesota. They don't live there anymore, but they had maple
Minnesota.
trees. They had maple trees, and he would just give me maple syrup from his family's like farm, and I was like, "This is the best thing that I've ever tasted, like ever." That's not Vermont,
it's-
but it's close enough.
It's
Is it
really
close
yeah, it's
enough?
really only. I mean, it's across the country.
Oh, I don't know American
So, like-
geography very well, so
Where do you think
Sorry.
Vermont is?
I don't know.
No, we'll save that for another podcast. We'll
Dude,
figure
do
out
not
the
question me
US.
on
Geography
American
episode.
geography. I don't.
The
I
next
only
podcast
know
is
the states I've
GeoGuessr.
been in. I'm serious. I only know the states I've been in.
How close do you think Vermont and California are?
I don't know. I don't
They're
know.
next to each other.
Ver-
No, look, to be
Vermont
honest with
sounds cold, so
No, it's really
It is.
warm. It's the
is
desert.
it?
No, they're
Yeah.
lying.
No,
They're
it's
lying.
right
They're
next to
lying.
Utah.
They're lying.
They're
They're
lying.
lying.
Vermont
lying.
sounds very warm.
It's like right
I think
next to
they're
New
cold.
Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut
It's
up.
right next to New Hampshire.
They
I
actually
think.
filmed some of Breaking Bad here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
To be honest with you, I don't blame you because I don't actually know which one's New Hampshire and which one's Vermont. I get this.
They're just
Bro,
I know
flipped upside
that.
down. Doesn't matter.
My
Yeah,
American
they're
friends
one of
will
the
pop me
two.
on Discord and they'll pull up GeoGuessr or whatever, or not GeoGuessr. They'll pull up that thing where you have to put the states' names.
Sporkle.
I don't know, and every time I just leave the call because they're doing that on. Momo, you've been in those calls, I'm pretty sure, where they try to get me to do geography, and I just
Next
and
next
I
episode's gonna
fucking
go
leave.
crazy.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
That'll be our, what do you call it? Instead of 20 questions, we'll have Foggy do the US.
I'll cry.
Instead of
I will
20 questions,
cry.
it's
I
50
can't do it. I'll
states.
get performance anxiety. I'll start
But-
crying.
To be
Do we
fair,
want to?
I failed geometry, so it'd be an experience for me too. Just to be
Yeah.
like, what? Like,
Failed
They did
geometry?
geometry or geography for my ADHD
Geography.
testing, and I failed. And they were like, "You have ADHD." like,
I too like using geometry
think
to
I'm-
figure out where the states are.
I think I'm taking a geography class right now. I don't really know.
Squares.
You're not taking any real classes.
No,
can you
it's
guys
a
can you guys
freshman
tell me
class.
where all the provinces and territories are in Canada?
Yes.
I
I
could
could
give you
tell
a
you, yeah,
really
I could.
solid guess.
I can
Go
go
on.
left to right. British Columbia,
I can't even do this. So good. job. I
Manitoba,
get lost.
I have to, like-
I get lost in the middle.
Alberta,
You could be
Ontario,
no.
Quebec.
Oh,
You're
No,
missing
no, I
like
want-
4 provinces.
No. Those are the ones up top. I was going left to right.
No!
Those are the top left. No, yes. British Columbia, Manitoba,
I'm looking it up.
No.
Alberta.
do we need
No.
to save this for another?
You're wrong. Manitoba. It's Ontario, Manitoba, Alberta, because I know that Manitoba's
That's
next
what
door
I
to me.
said.
No, you didn't. It goes British Columbia. I forget which state. Alberta,
I
Manitoba,
think you're-
or province, and then Ontario, and then Quebec, and then like Newfoundland,
Prince
PEI,
Edward Island.
and then there's
Yeah.
the territories. There's Yukon, Nunavut, and Northwest. Up top.
Oh, okay. I missed Saskatchewan, but that's
Oh
fake
no,
and
who
made
cares
up.
about Saskatchewan? That's why I was.
No, but I literally said British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec.
You did not say Manitoba beside
we
Ontario.
I did
have-
say
we have it
Manitoba.
recorded. We
Roll
have
it back.
recorded.
Roll it back.
Yeah.
Roll it back.
Yeah,
We have
roll
the-
it
Flag,
back.
put
Roll
that
it
in.
Good.
I want to need a
Um,
slow motion of me saying Manitoba.
That's gonna be the marketing clip for this. Where you just like,
Yeah.
That's
But,
like a wild on
let's-
TikTok.
Let's go ahead.
Like
We'll
half
save
of
that
that's
for
me
so
another
mine.
one.
It's gonna
esports.
go
That's
crazy
so
on mine.
esports.
So esports. It happens
God,
every time.
we're so good at
Do we
taking
want to
the
wrap
time.
this up with an
Yeah.
esports topic of? Do you want to do one more 20 questions and then call it?
Yeah, I'm down.
Sure.
Sure.
I'm not gonna do it. I mean,
I
I'll,
have one.
I'll ask questions. I'm not picking this.
Yeah.
up.
Who wants to come up with one?
I got
Go
one.
on.
You got
Go
one?
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you
Cool,
read it?
let me pull up the. No, that doesn't count. All right,
What do you mean it doesn't count?
Imagine I
What
just
else? The
picked.
last one.
Sorry,
No,
got
no,
rolled last time with my
I'm pulling up the
genius.
counter. Hold on. Okay, but that was one question. You can't eat it, right?
Yeah, you cannot.
Is it a
No.
program?
Is it
No.
is it an entity?
Yes.
It's a person.
Yes.
Are they a player?
No.
Worthy
they-
a player.
Are they
they
esports
creative?
professional? Yeah, creative.
No.
Do they work in esports?
Yes.
Caster.
No.
Okay, let's change the
what did you
topic of
say?
question. Let's stop rapid firing these. Have they been in the scene for a very long time, yeah? Have they been in the scene for a very long time?
Define very long.
Like 5 years plus.
3+. Oh, 5 years. Yep, that.
No, they've not. Not to my knowledge.
They have over 1,000 followers on Twitter.
That's
Look in the
enough.
glasses. Look in the
I
glasses.
have to. Yeah, look at my glasses. I don't know how to find it. Probably not because I'm having trouble.
How
finding
you
it.
can't even find them?
You
Him?
know, they're not real.
Him?
He
Oh,
said him.
oh,
Let's go.
Thanks.
We found out so much information with this one question.
Yeah.
Holy, they're a real person. They have a Twitter account. They're probably around 1,000 followers. Probably a him.
You can't even find his Twitter.
Oh, more than 1,000.
More than
Sheesh.
1,000.
But not a creative. They're in esports. It's a guy.
Well, we
Or
never
they
asked the
say-
question.
yeah,
Are they a
it's true.
guy?
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe I'm just swapping up the pronoun.
What's happening?
So are they a guy?
Yes.
Okay, that was a question.
Clicker now.
I clicked. It's at
Nice.
10.
Are they low? I can't ask that. That's a
Do we know
different
them?
question.
Do we know
Do we
them?
know
Yeah.
Know of them or know them personally?
Know them personally?
No.
Do we know of
Well,
them?
that should have. Do we know
Oh.
of them?
Oh wait,
We could know them.
Boogie
I could know
oh.
them.
But like I don't know. So I can't
What?
really answer. I don't know the people you
I know. I
Are-
simultaneously know everybody and nobody at the same time.
Jimmy Fallon. No, I know it's not Jimmy Fallon. Don't count that as a guess.
That would
Are
be
they-
wild.
You
though.
got
Are they-
it.
Do they?
You got
Did we
it.
ask if they worked in esports?
Yes, and I said yes.
Yeah.
They work.
Are they known for one
Are
game?
they?
Yes. The Kalos.
That game Overwatch?
Yes.
Do they
Like a
have
show
under
like
10,000 followers?
Yes.
Well, if it was around 1,000.
Did he say around 1,000?
You said it was over.
No, I said it
Over-
was
over
more than
over
1,000. He had to look it
Over
up. so I'm
under
s-
10.
They have 2,439 followers. I'm giving you a hint.
Someone.
I was gonna start looking.
Someone go.
Wait, hold
are
on.
they tier
Am I
one?
following them? Oh, sorry.
Or yeah.
I don't know how to check if you're following them.
No, do the tier 1 question. Forget my
Are they
question.
tier one?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a lot of mutuals
In
with them? Like
Overwatch.
a lot?
Works
Scouring
in
Twitter.
Overwatch.
They don't follow me. so I
I'm
don't
the
know if
only
they have
person here
mutuals.
who might actually know them personally.
That's a
Ouch.
guess.
You don't
Sorry.
even. I might know them personally.
You
don't
might.
know.
That's true. You
Ah.
might.
Ooh, do they work in a management role?
They're
He
not
had a really.
creative.
You gotta know more
They're
about
not
the person.
creative.
No, like I know exactly what they do, and I'm deciding if that's management or not.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
I'm
Okay,
gonna
so
say no.
elaborate
I'm
a
gonna say
little bit.
no. I'm gonna say no. But if you really wanted to like play devil's advocate and stretch it, you could say it's
Social
technically
media
management.
manager.
No.
Oh.
Okay, hold on. Do they work directly with the players?
What did you say?
Do they work with the players?
Correct. Yes.
Correct.
So tier
Yeah.
one, and we asked if they're in Overwatch, right? You said yes.
Yes.
Tier one
yes,
in
that as
Overwatch,
well.
they work directly with the players.
Is it a coach?
Yes.
Oh no!
I don't know how we didn't get there earlier.
With
We're at
under
18.
with under 10,000 followers.
They have 2,439.
Is it Danny?
Tier 1.
No.
Oh, Danny's not on
we have
main
one
anymore.
more guess.
Sorry.
Oh, Fogey.
Shit.
2,000. Can I just? Hold on, I'm just gonna look up people. Hold on. Is this
No.
allowed?
No.
I only
it
know
Chris?
so many coaches.
No. Well,
That was a
We've
good one.
lost.
Stop.
Sorry.
Well, let us
But
keep
no, you
going.
get the
Let us keep
Iteration
going.
5 bonus.
Oh,
Yeah,
true.
Iteration
Yeah.
5 bonus. We're so close. I want to get this. Don't. We lost the game, but let's keep going.
It's like Hangman when you start drawing the like.
Are they in
apparel.
the APAC region?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know any coaches in APAC. I'm sorry. I'm clueless here.
You want another hint?
Yeah. Oh no, I don't know.
Yeah, I want another hint.
It's the one coach you would know in the APAC region. Or that, I mean, that's kind of broad, but it's a hint. So,
Let me
in
look
my
up-
opinion, it's the
hold
one
up.
coach I would know in the APAC region.
I'm gonna pull up Wikipedia.
I guess since you've already technically lost.
Yeah, I'm gonna cheat a little bit on the ending here.
I'll give you another hint. They're not currently coaching, but they were recently.
We should ask the active. Are they active?
Yeah, you should have, but you suck at this.
Were they coaching in the APAC region?
Recently,
Or-
yes.
Okay,
That's
so
why I answered yes, because they're.
Okay, I just want to make sure that their team isn't now in APAC. They were coaching.
Wait,
in APAC.
wait.
Their
What's
team
the-
isn't. I'll give you another hint. Their team currently isn't in APAC. anymore.
Valiant. I know
Oh,
the
okay.
I know the coach. I
Valiant.
know the coach. Oh my god, why can't I think of their name? Oh
I don't
my
know
god.
the-
I've said the first half of their name
Oh.
a lot.
Oh, it's Supreme. I think, right?
No.
No.
No, oh my god.
I just said the first half of their name again.
Stop. I know.
I'm not gonna say.
You just said the first half of their name.
Me? Stop?
Yeah. No. I did it again.
Huh?
No.
Yeah.
No me.
Oh, No Hill.
There you go, Sai.
Sorry.
No Hill.
Who?
I was just so ill.
No Hill.
I actually
No
don't
Hill.
know
The
that.
head coach for Valiant last season.
No idea who.
I
that
don't know
is.
No Hill.
I'm so
Who was
sorry.
I
No
thinking
Hill.
of? Who was I thinking of? That was.
I
That was
couldn't
bad.
tell you.
That was bad.
But why was that bad? He's really well
Ex-player
known.
be-
No.
Became coach
I'm
for
saying
an
it's bad
APAC.
because we're stupid.
Did you say he's really well known when he has 2,000 followers on
He's
Twitter?
well known as in well Momo, you should know No Hill because he worked with some of the with the Solaris Contenders team for a bit.
We did? Oh.
Yeah, he did a lot of before coaching for the Valorant. Why a lot of people in NA Contenders knew him was because he worked with a lot of NA Contenders teams.
Boo! Never let Yu-Yo do it again. Boo!
You picked Lucio's
Yeah,
and
you
got
got shit on in 3
destroyed.
questions. I don't want to
That
hear
was
it.
great. That's a great. Lucio's was a great one. If you didn't keep bringing up the eating question, I think that would have been great. But that's all the time we got for today. Thank you. I think we're hitting almost 2 hours. So,
It's
we're
an hour and
half.
36.
That's
You're just-
perfect.
you're
That's
schizoid.
perfect. That's about exactly what we want. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure to
Yup.
tune in next week, same time, Wednesday, 5 p.m., where we're going to talk about something esports related. What?
And definitely
Don't
stay
know
on
yet.
Topic. We will definitely
Yeah,
stay on
we're-
topic.
Yeah.
Definitely do esports.
Early.
We'll be back with more 20 questions. Maybe it's something different. Maybe Foggy will
Catch
guess
us
U.S.
next week on
states.
Sporkle, yeah.
Who
No,
knows?
don't make me do that. Please. I beg
But
of
thank
you.
everyone for coming. Make sure to follow us on all of our socials. Link down below. See you next week.
Yippee.
Goodbye.
Bye.